seconds. You got 10 seconds. Yeah, there we go. Now it's 8
Let me
seconds.
get my
Well,
timer here.
Too late. We're live. Whether you like it or not, we're live. Welcome, everybody, to our Daily Success Call for Fun Friday, January 28th, 2022. John Lavinia here with you, as I am every Friday. I see a bunch of awesome people here already. Look at this. I get to spend my days with people like Patricia, Maggie, Ann, Catherine. There's Mindy. Get to see Alec, and of course, Scott and Crystal. There's Cam 71. What's going on, Cam? Marcus, yep. And there's Patricia, Sarah. Welcome, you guys. A bunch of other people here who are not on camera. That's okay. I'm gorgeous. You could just stare at me. There's Karen. Hey, Karen. All right. Hey, who's got a joke or something for today? It's Fun Friday, so somebody's got to tell a joke.
Oh, man.
Family friendly now.
I don't do jokes.
Oh, well, you're part of the crew, so now you do. So
I've got a joke. I've got a joke.
Yes, Timette. Oh, it was Anne? Anne.
Yeah, and last night I dreamt I was eating giant marshmallows, and when I woke up, all my pillows were gone.
Very good.
Sounds like a good dream.
Thank you, Anne. Family friendly. Rated G. Very nice. Okay. Well, good stuff. And thank you guys for sharing it was apparently the cat show today. We got to see a few cats just before we went live. I've got like no topic for you today. I'm just kind of sitting here going with the flow. I've already had, well, let me say this. I do have a topic. I've already had an insanely busy morning. It's not morning anymore, so now it's afternoon where I sit. But the reason for that is because I've got a lot of irons in the fire, and I think a lot of you can relate to this. That you've got multiple things going on in your life. Like you didn't just put your whole life on pause or like stop everything because you got started in your e-commerce business, right? You still got other things that you're doing. Okay, good. That is a good thing. Okay, now when we look at the potential overwhelm, which is something else I could tell you all about, we look at the potential overwhelm of attempting to do too many things at once or trying to be all things to all people. In fact, I just had this conversation with one of our esteemed members who wound up getting into an impromptu counseling session with one of her coffee mug customers. But she goes the extra mile. But you can't be all things to all people. All right. In fact, a sure way to burn yourself out is to try and be that. So then I think for today, something that might be good and lighthearted that we can kick around is what do we do, each of us? We can share some ideas. What do we do to experience a bit of balance? Okay. Because yes, the fact that I, signed up for this or that, business deal doesn't relieve me of the responsibilities of being a husband, father, other businesses that I'm, involved in. And I wear multiple hats. Is there anyone here who doesn't wear multiple hats? Probably not, right? I mean, even if you just take it down to the ultra simplicity of, well, you're an individual. Before you're an e-commerce expert or soon to be, right? Before you were ever that, or before you ever even decided that you wanted to participate in that path or those methods, you were an individual, which has its own responsibilities, right? I mean, you got to feed your body and like wash it from time to time and, rest. I mean, these are inconveniences for any busy person, right? Terrible inconveniences. I got to eat now. My goodness. I just want to get stuff done, not sit here and eat more food so I can go to the bathroom again. So, but these are the things that we got to deal with. What else comes with being an individual, right? If we just take it down to its ultimate simplicity, well, you got to maintain your own sanity too, right? Hence, read the books like I recommended and, show up in meetings like this to kind of recharge your batteries. Right, a little bit of spiritual sustenance, I suppose we can call it. It's a different kind of food, right? It's a food for the intellect and for the, and for the spirit of man, right? So these are considerations that you damn well better have, right? You need to have some of your attention on that stuff, right? Otherwise, what's it all for? And look, I've worked with many entrepreneurs who have, burned themselves out because while it's good and right, I think to have that, burning obsession, right? Like Napoleon Hill talked about in the book Think and Grow Rich, which is certainly one that you should put on your reading list. To have a white hot burning obsession, like all these highly successful people, they weren't dilettantes, right? Oh, Michael wants a transcript. Yes, here comes your transcript, Michael. Right. So all these highly successful people weren't weekenders or, hobbyists, right? They were like obsessed. And of course they got the result, right? But results in this area, let's say business and, finance and whatever, that's not the entirety of life. There's a saying that, if you don't have your health, right? Like your health is your, like the baseline or like everything else is built on that, right? So maintain your body, do some exercise. Hey, I know a pretty smart guy who recommended that you guys exercise every day. I don't know if you can recall who that might have been, but there's a reason for that. It may not seem to have anything to do with your e-commerce efforts, although who's doing the e-commerce efforts, right? Someone who's, full of energy and vim and vigor and other words that start with V. I hope so. Right. So back to my day, the reason I've gotten so much done today so far and have not in a hasty or overwhelmed, kind of a fashion, but in a expedient and efficient, there's the word, in an efficient manner, is because I started my day with things like exercise, right? Which I noticed for myself, and I don't know if any of you can corroborate this, but when I show up, for exercise, I'm walking slower than when I leave. So I'm faster after having put my body through a bunch of action. Suddenly I'm faster. My standards are higher. I'm in action, and therefore I'm thinking of, well, what more action can I take, right? And how much faster can I get stuff done? And even if I'm not consciously thinking of that, action begets action. So if we can overcome, I think one of the keys to avoiding overwhelm. And I think for some of our busier people here, I'm thinking of Mindy right now and a few others, right? People who got their hands in multiple things. Because I get to know you guys a bit over this journey that we're on here. But I think to whatever degree you can overcome inertia as early as possible in your day, the better for you. So we all start our day at, let's call it a zero statistic. Okay, so my production, as of opening my eyes and getting out of bed this morning, my production was at zero across all measures, right? All posts, all hats, right? We're at zero. I got a zero there, 0, 0, 0. All right, so how quickly can I get off of zero? How fast can I put a 1 on the board, if you will? And for many people, that could be, again, one of the things I recommended was sit there and have a few minutes to yourself and be quiet. There's not a whole lot of action there, although there's action going on here. And now you've done some high integrity action, visualizing your goals, right? Postulating your imminent and guaranteed future outcomes, right? That you're here to create. Okay, well, that's causative, right? I mean, that's good stuff. Well, really all we're talking about here, no matter what the topic is or whatever words are coming out of our mouths, we're talking about one main topic, and that is cause and effect, right? I mean, you're here to be effective, right? So how quickly can you assign cause to yourself and demonstrate that by some deliberate action? So life isn't just happening to you, that you're causing stuff to happen. So I've decided that I'm going to start my day, and within 10 minutes, I've drank 2 glasses of water. I used the bathroom. Maybe I, made a cup of coffee, and I'm going to go sit here and I'm going to have, a few minutes to just be awake and observe what thoughts are going through my mind, and then be deliberate about reminding myself of where I'm going. That's a high integrity action. Now, do most people do that? No, most people, life is happening to them. So it's easy to get overwhelmed when we just walk around in the effect of it all. The effect, right? Not the cause. I'm not causing stuff. I'm just, things are happening to me. that's very seductive, right? And people go into agreement with that. I mean, for lifetimes, they go into agreement with that. So can we disagree with that? Can we say, you know what, I'm going to cause something today? It starts right now, in fact. Let me demonstrate that. It starts right now. And so now that you've had your little meditation time or whatever you want to call it, maybe do a little bit of study, right? Is there some, can you read a page of a book? I recommended 5 books for you guys, right? In fact, the ideas that I'm giving you right now, we could say I didn't originate. You can read right out of Hal Elrod's book, Miracle Morning, right? Here's some things you can do to create some habits. He calls them the savers, right? SAVERS, that's his acronym. To advance in life and to do it right out of the gate, because what you do in the morning is what shapes the rest of your day. So great, go read a page out of the book and see if it's something you can use right now. All education is for use. I have to remind myself and a lot of people of that all the time, right? It's not to sit there and be lofty and think that you're an intellectual or something. Who cares? Does it bear fruit in your life? Can you use it? Well, if so, then put it to use. You don't need to take notes, right? Although I suppose you can keep a journal. That's kind of cool. That's one of the things that Hal talks about. But does it work? Well, then do it, right? Again, high integrity action. You're bigger than you were before, having studied, 1 page or 10 pages or a chapter or whatever, right? You're more able than you were before. High integrity action, right? Self-edification. Edification, the building up through instruction. That's what edification means, the building up. So from there, now that you've used your mind a little bit, how about you use the body, right? You go do a little exercise, right? Get the blood moving. And again, back to the point that I hopefully just made, was that I find myself moving faster now that I've moved. Action begets action. And then, okay, now that you've run around the block or hit the gym or carried logs down the street or whatever you do, great. What is some income producing action that you could do right now that you may have been procrastinating on? It may be distasteful. You might not like doing it, but my goodness, especially if you don't like doing it. Well, let's get that done now then. So it's off your calendar, right? Rather than having it in the back of your mind all day, you go do this. Oh yeah, I still got to do that crappy thing. And then you go do something else. Oh, I still got to do that crappy thing. Well, let's just do the crappy thing. Let's just do that. I mean, the amount of time and energy that I've spent bemoaning things that I don't want to do, practicing work avoidance, I could have just did it. I'm attempting to teach that to my daughter now. Okay, she's 11. But some of us who have a couple more years on the roster than on the calendar than that, right, still deserve to learn that lesson, right? The amount of energy that it takes to procrastinate on or to avoid that thing that ultimately we're going to do anyway. All right. Wow. What if we get all that energy back by just knocking it out? And it might not be perfect. It might not yield, riches in the next 15 minutes. Okay. But if it's going to get done, well, it's meant to be, it's up to me. Well, let's just get it done then. That's one less thing on my calendar. Now, I may be, for those of you who've been hanging around here for a little while, you may think, well, John, we've kind of talked about this before. Yeah, we've talked about this before. For the uninitiated, this may seem like breakthrough concepts, okay? But I could tell you that, number one, I didn't originate any of this stuff, right? This is just stuff that I've, proven workable in my own life. And the second thing is I need reminders. Because part of doing this whole human thing and, the body and the mind and all that, part of that is that we get to forget stuff. Sadly, I think a lot of times we forget the wrong stuff. So there's this idea I got from Wayne Dyer, the late Wayne Dyer. Some of you have read some of his books, where he talked about developing a forgettery to go along with your memory. Yeah, you've got a memory, but if you keep dragging the past with you to today, hoping to create a better tomorrow, well, you get more of that, right? Because what you think about, you validate, you get more of that. You don't get what you want, you get who you are, said James Allen. So what if we developed a forgettery? Let's go ahead and forgive or abandon or forsake or forget, here's the transgressions, problems, shortcomings, whatever. And let's, put more attention on where we're going and knowing that we can get there. Okay. Sadly, I think, I tend to forget principle-based actions and right thinking, right direction, right? Those are things that seem to be easier to forget because attention can be fixated on what? Things that I would rather forget, right? Here's what I didn't accomplish, or here's what hasn't happened yet, or here's my foibles or imperfections or whatever. So since we only have so much attention, right? There's a finite amount of attention that you can spend, and you will spend it every day, okay? Then why don't we be deliberate about that? Why don't we just go ahead and forsake, abandon these things which haven't served us, or which we tell ourselves, we're not adequate, or whatever the stories are that you run on yourself, right? Why don't we just go ahead and just hit pause on that recording for a minute? And remember, deliberately remember, here are the things that are going to move me in the directions that I want to go in. Here's what's good and right. Here are things of good report. Let me think on these things. That's actually biblical, right? That was Paul, letter to the Corinthians, things of good report, think on these things, right? So if we are deliberate in our thought and deed, well, we've already revealed ourselves as what? High integrity people, self-determined people, causative people. Well, then you've got full license to expect recompense. Here comes reciprocation. Here comes right. You're putting out the currents of benefit and increase into the world. Well, it has to come back, right? That's just math, right? The tide goes out, the tide comes in. Great. Well, what tide are you sending out? We're talking about getting into the flow here. Getting into the flow. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I walk faster when I leave the gym than I walk into the gym. Not that I'm just trying to escape or anything, right? But I didn't want to go to the gym today, right? It was leg day. My affirmation is I love leg day. Leg day is my favorite. I can't wait for leg day. That's bullshit, by the way, but I keep telling it to myself. Okay. And so I showed up. I didn't want to go to the gym, but guess what I did? I went to the gym, right? And then when I was done with that, man, I did it. I did leg day. Yeah. And I walked out to the car and took my daughter to breakfast and whatever. And I was moving. I got so much done in between that too. Wow. Right. So hopefully this doesn't sound like I'm boasting. Okay. That's not what this is about. Okay. It's just what's coming up for me right now, what I think might be of benefit to you. And good news for you. The way to get into the flow with that, one of the ways that could prompt you getting into more of a flow is to hang around with people who are getting in the flow, right? I mean, think about this. Let's say you showed up at an event, right? And, you kind of waddled in, kind of lethargic or whatever. And then you open the door and it's like a big party and like people are dancing and action is happening. The likelihood of you getting into that flow and getting more active is damn near 100%, right? That you're going to be out of that room pretty quick, right? Some of you thinking, I don't dance. I'm with you. You don't want to see me dance. Okay. Philosophy. Yeah, I'm with you, but dancing. No. So, so regardless of your proclivities, for dancing or non-dancing, the point that you showed up in an active spot, let's say it was a work site. Okay. So let's say, here's the crew, right? And you join the crew, right? You're going to get to work on the project, the construction job, or whatever it happens to be, right? And you show up at your first day and already work is happening and people are like running, like work is getting done. You're going to be in motion, like pretty damn quick, right? So again, congratulations for showing up here in these conversations, right? Because look, the drudgery that most people who are attempting to go it alone experience, right? Where they get to sit there and be alone and stare at the computer screen and have all their thoughts and be their own worst enemy, right? That you get to sidestep all that to the degree that you immerse yourself in an environment where action and production is happening. It's friggin' beautiful, beautiful. Which is why we do this. Again, I'm not self-aggrandizing. I'm just, look, let me acknowledge you all. I mean, if you weren't able, if you weren't on purpose and decided that you're going to, have success, you wouldn't be showing up here. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Anyway, I have no idea what this topic is, although, I never know what's going to come out of my mouth until I hear it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's on Friday, so we keep it kind of loose and lighthearted. Yeah, you guys have any thoughts out of everyone who's on here? Somebody must have a thought. Let's hear some of them. Here comes Scott B. What's going on, Scott?
Good morning, John. Good morning, everyone. I think a lot of what you're talking about relates to the habits that we create, because I think so much of what we do every day, perhaps not even being aware of it, is very much habitual.
Mm-hmm.
And often these struggles we have, we're going to the gym or doing a particular task, I think once we make them habitual, then they cease to be a struggle. It's something we do without controversy. That would be the intention of, and eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, ultimately we are creatures of habit, and I think that can be a very restraining thing, a very limiting thing, but can also be a very freeing thing, in the sense that once it's habitual, you can forget about it. You get on with something else, something new, because this sort of area is conquered. Move on, and then all the good things that come from that habit being executed mount up over time, like exercise, for example, or like the things you do in your role in this business every day. It mounts up and creates its own momentum and its own justification eventually. But just getting through that process of making it habitual, as I say, it takes about a month or so to make anything habitual. And I think that's a very, very powerful mechanism we can use. And it's very interesting. You talked also about, being around people who are sort of full of enthusiasm and energy and so forth. I think if you yourself have your own goals and you're very focused on those goals, as I mentioned before in passing, you will not tend to associate, you will not feel comfortable with people who don't have goals, or at least have goals that are similar to yours in some way. And therefore, unless you're forced to be with them, you will move away from them.
Right.
And that's why I hear a lot of people who have questionable relationships or bad situations at work. Often the advice is, well, forget about the other people. Just focus on being the best you can be. And those people will somehow, some way fall away from your life. Those circumstances will somehow find their own way of falling away from your life. And it's very, very true, because the people who don't have dreams just go with the herd, go with the crowd, and go their own way over the cliff. People who do have dreams somehow find a totally different direction. And if it means changing friends, changing family, sometimes that's how deep it can go. If that's what it takes for you to be true to yourself, then that's what you got to do. Because ultimately, as you mentioned so much with integrity, you've got to be true to yourself. Otherwise, you're no good to anyone. Mm-hmm. In the same way, you can't give affection or love or guidance or anything else from a position of weakness. You can only give it from a position of strength. And I think your dreams will give you the strength you need to guide your own path. But you're no good to anyone if you don't have your dreams. Because it's just surprising how many people will look at you that you're not even aware are looking at you, and observe what you're doing or not doing from afar. And I've noticed this myself, and it's shocking how much that happens. You don't realize it afterwards until maybe you're away from that environment, and people come back and say, oh, well, this is what I was thinking, this is what I was feeling, and what you did, what you didn't do, that was very significant to me. And you realize what impact you had, and you had no idea at the time. And that's why it's so important to be true to yourself, not so much for yourself, but for the other people who are watching you, because you're changing lives by the example you set, and you don't even realize it. But that's what I found anyway.
Well, thank you. And I think you and I have both witnessed that multiple times just in the short time that we've known each other. Look, you've got people here in this group who have requested your book, Scott.
Huh?
So like, when are you going to write it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'll tell you is one of the best things I ever did. Right. A lot of people talk about writing a book. Like, write the book. It's like a really good move. Really, really good. Because then, people ask you, oh, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm an author, and oh, an author, right? Which is the first two syllables of authority. So rather than just telling people you're an authority, you can just say you're an author. They get the message. So What do you think, Michael? Michael from Canada. Man, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, I'm back. We're talking about exercise. It's interesting. I'm a wholehearted believer in exercise, and I really liked going to the gym, lifting weights, and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, I went. The reason I've been gone for 2 months is I had to start a job like almost immediately, and I went from like zero exercise to pushing about 500 to 1,000 pounds a day. And then yesterday, what day is today? Thursday? No, yeah, I think it was yesterday or the day before. They just said, no, it's not working out. So then I go down to zero. So it's like I get to this point where like, wow, I'm really starting to get somewhere, and then boom, done. So I get on the floor, I try to do some exercise. I'm like, this hurts too much. I can't move.
Well, it's actually easier. Oh, hey, Pat, I see you've got a hot mic. We'll bring you out here after Scott is going to speak next. I didn't see your hand, but it's actually easier to maintain fitness than it is to get fit, right? So yeah.
Well, I had these all great goals. I'm going to join the gym. I feel good. I want to maintain this. And then, I tried to do exercising and stretching on the floor, and I'm like, wow, I can't. Seriously, I'm like bound up. I'm like, there's no motion. But that small 15 minutes a day at the beginning of the day to just stretch, to just contemplate, meditate, it, like you said, it's I'm walking faster after than before. It really does help me to just be more flexible. It's almost like I have more motion now, so I have more ability to do things. And during that time, while I'm stretching, I can also be thinking about, okay, what am I doing today? What am I accomplishing? What priorities do I want to put on what? And I could just kind of start to organize things in my head as I'm stretching, because it gives me an opportunity to just kind of start breathing and just being into it. Again, 15, 20 minutes, doesn't take much time. It's the biggest thing in my day that, like you said, I love it. Exercises are the best. I love doing stretching. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, I've got something for you, Michael, and for everyone who dares. Okay. You'll thank me later. Here comes a YouTube link. This is from a guy named Jeff Cavalier. He runs his company is called Athlean X. He's got 11.5 million views on this video, 12 million subscribers on his English YouTube channel. He's also got other languages. This is like the home workout. Well, all you need is some gravity, and he will kick your ass. I mean, it is. All right. So you're welcome. Check that out. All right, Scott. We got Scott, and then we got Alec. Oh wait, and Pat. Pat, did you have a comment? I didn't see your hand, but I know you got.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something that kind of ties into what everybody else is saying. I was a teacher for 30 years of special education children, from emotionally disturbed, all sorts of things. The first week of class, I always drilled them in the difference between discipline that somebody else forces on you and self-discipline. And the only two rules I ever used in my class were do your own work, let other people do theirs.
Okay.
Which covers everything. And the third thing was I gave the power back to them. For instance, I had a new boy come in, we were doing math, and he says, I won't do math. I said, okay. I took his book, put it up on the thing, and as you said about action, about 5 minutes later, can I get my book? And I was going through last night when you're talking about all these things to do. I said, I taught this to kids. I got to do it to me. I got to take back my power. I've got to reinforce my self-discipline, and I got to do my work. And if you do those things, everything keeps growing.
That's right. There you go, Pat. You don't get a new truth because now you're not 10 years old anymore, right? Same truth.
Right.
Right. So thank you, my friend. So glad you're here. Pat, everybody. We heard her, but we didn't see her. Maybe we'll see her next time. So
Yeah, I don't know why the video messed up. I didn't get it.
it's okay. Yeah, we got the point. So thank you. So glad you're here, Pat. You have a great weekend, my friend. Let's hear from Scott and then Alec. Hey, Scott, you've got the floor, sir.
Okay. Yeah, as I'm thinking through this, I'm thinking through the struggle. And for me, one of my struggles that I have a lot of times is this all or nothing thinking versus diligence, taking small steps. And so I think that was kind of my big aha for the last 2 weeks is, you know, I decide I'm going to work out, but I've got this workout plan and I want to do 5 sets of this but then, I got to take the kids to school. I only have 15 minutes. I'm not going to get that whole thing done. So then I just don't do anything. Speaking of diligence, one of the things that I realize about myself is I've been lazy. And what I mean by that is I always want to do the easy things and avoid the hard things. So I get caught up in the shiny object syndrome. So it's like I've tried something. Oh, it's getting too hard. Oh, this looks easier. And before I know it, I'm into too many things. And now I've got a distraction problem. And then also the other thing is just kind of taking a step back and realizing that, okay, so maybe I have been lazy, but that doesn't mean that's who I am. And so sometimes there's a false premise of saying that I am lazy versus, okay, in my behaviors, I have been lazy, but by claiming that I'm lazy, I'm already dictating my future of being lazy, if that makes any sense.
Total sense. It's called identification with the problem or the shortcoming. So identifying as the lazy person versus observing, here's what occurred at that point in time, which is not now, and not being it, right? Because you're going to be something, right? Which dictates what you're going to do, which then dictates what you're going to have. So being able to sort of hit that reset button, or like we talked about, Scott, forgiving, the transgressions of the past and whatever you didn't do, or let's get on with it, man. Wow. Great stuff. You know what Scott just reminded me of too, is when I think about anything that any of us have ever been successful at, it's because we took it to completion. Right? There's a complete, we started, we did the work, and then we're done. It stopped, right? Done. Okay. So that's success, right? Whereas the shiny objects, right? Start, never quite finish anything. Oh, you lose, right? So thank you, Scott. Very insightful. Glad you're here. We have another Scott in the group. Can you guys believe this? We needed more Scotts here. So, oh my goodness. Good times. Alec, why don't you lay a profundity on us to wrap up really powerfully for this weekend? Come on out here, Alec.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, first off, I really liked what the last guy was saying when he was saying that he has seen that he can be lazy at times. And he is not a lazy person. Just because he is lazy one day does not mean he is lazy his entire life. And I really liked that. Really hit me because you said something about finding a groove. That was the conversation. You couldn't think of a conversation. You said, it's all about can you get into that groove? And this morning, that groove, of course, I didn't wake up and go work out or anything, but this morning, it's a miracle how much will disappear when you put me behind the camera. And this morning, we got to shooting something. It was one of those, let's go do this real quick, and just getting that complete. That minor little task that really is probably not even gonna be used for anything. It was more of just a tryout. But with that tryout, which I'm still working on right now, where I'm learning the program, evolving, and you talked about what you might read a page. Well, guess what? You all of a sudden know more than what you knew 5 minutes ago or right before that page. And this is it's not exactly the way I wanted it. I know there are a few kinks to work out, but it's like you were talking about. It's about finding that groove, completing things instead of, going over the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Where, hey, you know what? Let me start that. Hey, let me start that. And then nothing ever gets done. So that has actually calmed down quite a bit. And I just feel like I've been able to think better just in that initial action, even for the business. It was about finding that groove that was needed to go ahead and give me that need to want to do more.
Right. Well, like we said, action begets action. So back to what Scott was talking about in terms of all or nothing, like I need to do perfect, or I'm just, no, well, now I'm just not going to do anything, right? So what if, this is an interesting idea, everybody, for anything that you're getting done today or this weekend or whenever, that perhaps you've procrastinated on because you feel like you might make a mistake or whatever. What if you just did a practice run? So like Alec was just saying, he's behind the camera. Maybe it's not even the footage isn't even going to be used, if I understood what he was saying. So that's a practice run. All the time I have to create content that is, video content and things like that in my work. And a lot of times I confront people who are like, well, I need the script and I got to practice 10 million times. We're going to do 100 different takes. What I do, and again, I've got some experience with this, but what I do is I know the purpose. Here's the purpose of this video or this episode or whatever is being, recorded. So here's the end result that we want from it. Great. Do a practice run. Run the cameras. Do a practice run. One take. Done. Because it doesn't matter, right? It's just a practice run. So we take all the pressure off, right? So same thing with if we've been procrastinating going to the gym or whatever. Well, I want to do a good workout. No, go do a crappy workout. Just practice. It doesn't matter, right? But once you're there and you're touching metal, well, I might as well do a few more reps. I mean, after all, I got the metal in my hand. Okay, well, then do a good workout then. I mean, since you're already doing it. So you kind of trick yourself. I'll speak for myself. I kind of trick myself into action by just taking some of the pressure off. So friggin' serious, why so serious? Anyway, that's something I need to remember more often than I currently do. So anyway, love you guys. Let's wrap up for the week. I'll be back here with you on Monday. We've got lots of good stuff going on. And look, anything you need, get with your accountability reps, get with support, get with whoever. Call the Pope, call somebody, and I will look forward to seeing you all again real soon. All right. Thanks for being here with us. Have a good one. Bye for now.